Broadcasting from the 72nd floor of First Canadian Place in the heart of Toronto's financial district, this is #Finance, the podcast that profiles innovative entrepreneurs and thought leaders operating in the public markets. Presented to you by the CSE, the Exchange for Entrepreneurs.
It's James here, and we are on air here with #Finance, and this is being delivered to you by the 72nd floor, on the 72nd floor, First Canadian Place in Toronto at the CSE, and I'm pleased to be joined today by John Clarke from PUDO. And John, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. John, you're the VP of Sales and Marketing for PUDO, and you came in today with Frank, the founder of PUDO, to open the market, which is really exciting.
Very exciting. It was great fun. Thank you for
4 years
participating in that.
4 years in the making. And so one thing that we do here after these opens, we like to sit down with the management. We like to sit down with people such as yourself, learn more about the story of the company, learn more about what you guys are doing, and the unique journey that you've been on. Most of these companies that come here, really all of them have gone through these unique entrepreneurial journeys. And we always like to learn from those and learn more about the companies themselves because, as we all know, there's a ton of things you can invest in the world, but there's some really interesting things that you guys are doing that I think we should talk about. So maybe just let's start from the very top about PUDO. What is that acronym? Is it an acronym? What does it stand for?
Yeah, well, it is an acronym, but it's pretty common across the industry. It's pick up and drop off.
Right.
And so it refers to a service where, typically related to e-commerce, where somebody who orders something online can pick it up at a local pickup point, and on the same side for a return can drop it off at that place as well. So that's where PUDO comes from.
Okay, and so that last mile solution that you're providing, what led you to want to be the provider of that? Who was dropping the ball or the package, so to speak, and how is that causing a problem for you guys to solve?
Well, I don't think anybody's dropping the ball. I think to understand why PUDO's here and the value it creates, you kind of got to talk a little bit about e-commerce and what it's done. E-commerce has been a tremendous boon for the retailing industry. It's opened up a new channel, global markets, and new sales opportunities. And if for you and I as customers, it's obviously offered more choice and convenience, but there also comes with new costs. And one of the costs that's most sort of significant in e-commerce is the cost of fulfillment. And it actually costs 3 times more to fulfill an online order than it would a traditional brick and mortar purchase. And I'll tell you what fulfillment means. In this case, fulfillment for an online purchase would be warehousing, what we call pick and pack, which is kind of sorting and consolidation, as well as logistics software. But far and away, the biggest portion of that fulfillment expense is final mile. And final mile is the journey from the retailer's warehouse to the customer's home.
Right. Yeah.
And every industry, every retailer faces that. And really, this push, as you would know as a consumer, to deliver fast and free has made the problem even worse. And there really aren't any viable solutions out there. So what we have done, PUDO has done, is to try and address that problem. We've partnered with local businesses to serve as parcel pickup and drop-off points. And what's changed for us versus, let's say, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago when we started, was there's a much stronger focus now from retailers on improving their margin and improving sales, improving revenue. Because in the beginning it was like, we got to get in e-commerce at all costs. This is important. And now I think they're realizing, okay, we have to do more to sort of make this business work for us.
Well, I think a lot of people don't appreciate that very point, which was, well, if you can sell online, that's, we're decentralizing retail. It's a lot cheaper for everyone. But in fact, it may not actually be that case. You maybe having a store and a storefront and the ability to stock on the shelves is in some cases more cost effective and better for your margin.
Well, certainly from a fulfillment perspective. Yeah. So if you're talking about once an order is placed and getting that into the customer's hands, it's more expensive in an online channel. Mm-hmm. And so what's changed then is this focus more on margin enhancement for retailers, as well as, it's been around us in every industry. It's cloud-based software, and it's these mini computers in our hands that we call smartphones. In our case, that have a camera that can serve as a scanner, that can serve as a barcode scanner. So this together has allowed us to create this network of local points, put the technology in place with a convenience store or a grocery store or a gas station in the neighborhood of those customers who are ordering online, to give them another option to pick up. And so the impact on the retailer is basically allows them to reduce or eliminate that final mile cost, and it'll cut their fulfillment cost in half. 50% of fulfillment is that final mile journey, as I said. Now, if you think about what an online retailer will pay for fulfillment, it's probably between 50 and 18% of online sales. So if you sell something for $100, it's going to cost you $15 to $18 just to get it the customer's
So that's going
home.
to Canada Post or UPS.
Sure, sure. And all the other things I talked about, warehousing and everything else. So think about that. When we cut that in half, we're basically putting 10% back on the bottom line for the retailer. So that's really our value proposition. Yeah. And the nice thing about our solution is, yes, it saves money for retailers in the ways I described, but it's also good for a lot of customers. A lot of customers prefer to have something dropped off at a local business rather than miss a home delivery. If you're in an apartment without any type of access, those parcels will have to be redelivered. It can be very frustrating. And the final benefit, moving forward, is the environment. So you imagine it's a much greener solution than what we have today, which is a truck rolling through the neighborhood with a single parcel for a single home. This is a truck going to a single destination with multiple parcels on board. So the reduction in emissions is significant as well. So it's really benefiting a number of parties.
All right, John. So one common theme on our podcast, because a lot of the companies we talk to are fairly either newer, smaller, or just growing, is the concept of competing with the big guy. And in this case, the way I'm reading it is Amazon would be one of the big guys in the fulfillment and parcel delivery business. Now, do you guys compete with Amazon, or actually complementary to what they do?
Well, that's a good question and timely. Amazon is a complement to our business. We've entered into a channel partner agreement with Amazon. We've got 30 pilot stores operating in the U.S. now, where we are on the Amazon checkout, giving Amazon customers the ability to order something and have it dropped off at a local business, which is part of the PUDO network. So from us, it's very exciting to be part of this channel partner agreement with Amazon, but as much as they're important in the ecosystem, they're probably 30 to 40% of the online sales now. We are equally excited about the validation of our business model. So Amazon adding a counter option or a pickup option to the checkout basically confirms that what we're doing here in Canada and soon into North America is a possibly more convenient, certainly more efficient way of getting parcels from an e-commerce retailer into the hands of its customers.
Right. So I assume we're just about 2 weeks away from Christmas. We're probably in a pretty busy time for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. Let's call it peak. Yeah. So there's a lot of activity coming into our stores, particularly when sometimes you don't want to have a parcel arrive on the doorstep, and your kids kind of pick it up when they get home before you do and open it up.
Hopefully your kids, yeah.
So there's a lot of use for the PUDO points for that purpose too.
Does urban versus suburban, is there any distinction between how this system works, better or worse? Or
the advantage for somebody living in a place like Toronto in a sort of urban environment is there's a lot more failed deliveries. So you'll find that probably 30% of home residential deliveries, what we call fail, which is the courier company has to go back and redeliver. And the problem with that for courier companies is a redelivery basically takes all the margin out of that first delivery. If they can't drop it the first time, they're kind of breaking even on the second time. And so we have a relationship with a number of partners. One of them is actually Perlator, and we're excited about the Perlator relationship because obviously they're a great partner and they're important in the e-commerce economy, but it's also they're the first courier that we've been working with that already has an existing counter network. So in the past, we've worked with regional couriers and national couriers who don't have what we call parcel counters, and you all know what those are from FedEx and whatnot. But Perlator had these in existence, but they partnered with us to see if we could complement their network and help them get to areas maybe that they weren't as well penetrated into. But more importantly, it's kind of testimonial to the quality of our network and the quality of the customer experience, because Perlator obviously has very high standards, and they want to make sure that when somebody comes in to pick up a Perlator package, it's a great experience. And so we're very excited about that partnership, and we think it means it's good thing it's good for our model and good for customers.
Okay, and so in our pre-meeting here, you mentioned the word Scrappy. So we're going to talk about sales for a sec. And how you've had to take a scrappy mentality into sales in this business. Maybe elucidate on that. Tell me what it means to be scrappy in sales.
Well, at the end of the day, for our business, it's all about getting packages into the network. And so as much as you want to talk about the new model and technology and e-commerce, really the hemoglobin of this business is packages. And so we find those packages anywhere we can, ultimately. We try and create relationships where we're adding value for partners. The business started, as I mentioned earlier, we're working with carriers, courier companies that didn't have their own counters. And they were facing this failed delivery concern. And if you're in today's market, if you want to be a business to consumer delivery partner, the retailer who will give you that business understands that a third of the time that parcel is going to be undeliverable. And you can't bring it back to your depot in Mississauga or wherever it is. It has to be dropped at a place that's convenient for the customer. So they basically started to partner with us to be their de facto counter system. And that's, we've been establishing relationships with that and helping courier companies get into the B2C business through that counter network that we're supporting. So that we've been looking for opportunities like that for the last kind of 3 or 4 years, while e-commerce and this final mile problem continues to kind of percolate in the background.
Right, because you did mention that, you seem like you felt like you were early into the business, which it seems like anything that's internet or web enabled now, to say you're early at 2014 or 15 or 16 seems counterintuitive, but I don't think you're wrong. It's actually, I think people's behavior takes a long time to shift.
Well, there's two things. I mean, first of all, this model started in the UK, in Europe, where it's probably twice as many sales are done online versus traditional. So if it's 10% here, it's 20% over there. So the e-commerce market is much more developed, where this model, this PUDO model, has been successful. But I think the other thing is, e-commerce has required a lot of big changes from retailers. And so if you think about the process, it starts with the website and the technology and the product mix and the pricing. All of these are big questions and challenges that the retailers have had to deal with. The very last part to think about is the final mile, that journey from the warehouse to the customers, and they just haven't got there yet. Right. And now they're starting to get there. They're saying, okay, we've got the website's looking good, we've got the right technology, our pricing strategy's kind of sound, we're happy with the way our quality experience. Now let's think about how we're getting it to this. Is the last piece to
absolutely.
solve.
I just case in point, I ordered something off Walmart a couple weeks ago for Christmas for my son, and I get a notice that says your package is now ready at the Walmart to pick up.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I go there. You have to phone a number. You get to a dispatch in the store, and then they tell you to meet, near the McDonald's in this case. And someone kind of shows up with a bag. I thought that was pretty clunky. I mean, that was a weird experience. And I don't know. That's nothing to do with last mile delivery, or maybe it has everything to do with it. Yeah.
It has a lot to do with the way we build our network. So that experience that you had, Walmart's a fantastic, retail and e-commerce player, of course. But that experience you had is what we're trying to avoid when we pick a store. The advantage with our convenience stores or our kind of grocery stores, even our gas stations, is that you're going to be in and out within a minute.
Yeah.
And that's the way convenience stores work. They don't want you to be searching around their store trying to find what you're looking for. So the convenience store model works very well for us. Versus, let's say, a bigger store that may have a counter somewhere in the back that's not staffed, and they're looking for your parcel. So that model doesn't work as well. The convenience store model that we have is much more convenient and will avoid that challenge that you had at one of our retailers.
I hope so, because I don't want to do that ever again. Because I stayed in the store and then I ended up buying stuff I didn't need.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I know.
Walmart.
Good for
That's
Walmart,
a good
but And so I just want to take a couple minutes just to talk about your experience. So prior to this, you tell me you were working at Google. What were you doing at Google?
I was in sales there. I was running. I mean, it started in 2006, and we were probably a 10 or 12 person shop at the time, and the whole idea was to kind of evangelize search, if you can believe it. There are some large, like I worked on the automotive category to start, OEMs like a Toyota or a Honda, who really weren't investing heavily in search because it was so new. So it was an evangelizing role, and I was there for about 6 years. And the comparison now, I mean, I've been in startups ever since, but the comparison now is evangelizing the PUDO model and trying to connect business value to your solution. And that was one thing that Google was very good at, was connecting the value of search, the value of their products to the customer's business goal.
Right.
And that's that's why we talked about earlier. It is really about, as much as there's a convenience play and it's better for the environment, at the end of the day, the retailer is going to save money, they're going to improve their margin. And that's the core premise of the business, and that's what we're trying to reinforce every time we talk to our partners.
Right. No, the value proposition seems equally weighted to the customer and to the provider of the service. So that's, I think, key in trying to create a sales proposition. Everybody wins, right? Anything else you want to mention about PUDO, what you guys are working on, stuff coming up? I did hear some interesting figures about how much the business has scaled, and even in the U.S., you guys are starting to hit counters.
Yeah, again, it's we're getting to a point now where this solution is seen as viable, and the impact on cost to do business is significant, and customers are willing to pick up their parcels. And I think it's because the option hasn't really been that well presented to customers. I mean, you used the Walmart at one point, but there's, if you could pick a business that was within 2 or a kilometer of your home, you might be more interested in doing that. So I think the business is starting to pick up. Again, with Amazon offering this as part of their checkout experience, it really validates the value of it. The other thing that's changed, I think, is there's a real concern, as we know, for the environment. And if we survey customers about reasons for choosing alternate delivery pickup, the green impact is significant. Something like 3/4 of consumers will agree that a greener solution is something they would consider when getting their package. So you can imagine if you were told, look, I know you have to use your legs to get this package, but you're going to reduce carbon into the environment by reducing trucks on the road. Is that compelling? And 3/4 of the time, people are going to say, yeah, that's fine. So we're going to take advantage of that as well as we move forward.
No, I agree. I think that's a great point. That probably flies over people's heads sometime. And speaking of flying, do you envision a future where just drones drop packages off on top of our heads every day?
Well, I don't know a lot about that. I mean, we've talked about we've obviously have companies that have been talking to us about various opportunities. I think it's fraught with challenges in an urban environment. Possibly you could do what we call a mid-mile. There's a couple of different steps where you go from the warehouse to kind of a central point, and maybe you could do some part of the route handled by a drone, but I think we're a ways to go.
Still science fiction, not science fact. Okay, so just to recap, www.pudopoint.com on the CSE trading under PDO. Any other social points we should know about, how to connect with you guys, or just places they should go get more information?
Well, again, you've got the website there. Stay tuned. We're going to be releasing some press releases coming up. We'll obviously share them on the CSE website, of course. Yep. But we are, the announcements are coming quite quickly now. We're, as I said, we're starting to gain momentum. So we'll be using our social channels more actively to talk about ourselves and talk about our partnerships and most importantly, the value we're creating for partners. So stay tuned.
Yes.
As Frank would say.
Yes. No. Well, yeah. Looking forward to it. Okay, John. Well, thank you so much for your time. And if you're watching today, don't forget to subscribe down below. We're on YouTube at CSE TV. If you're listening as well, subscribe. iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you get podcasts. We put out about 2 podcasts a week with great entrepreneurs like John here. And again, this was PUDO Point. If you're looking for one, next time you check out of Amazon.
Thank you.
Or any other sites that carry this feature. And thank you again. Congratulations on the market open. And until later, good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks,
Appreciate
John.
it.
Bye.
We're social here at the CSE. Each and every day we'll keep you up to date on trending topics that investors are talking about, such as cannabis, blockchain, and esports. Follow daily CSE news and events on your favorite social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You'll find exclusive interviews with leading entrepreneurs from a variety of industries, thought-provoking stories from across the world of finance, and updates from CSE events taking place worldwide. Join the conversation and connect with us today.